And welcome into the Tuesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start this morning on their Tuesday morning. Joe Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing all right. Doing okay. I gave up on the Tigers, but they won last night, and the White Sox lost to the Cubs, so baseball exists again for one more day.
Wow, this is quite the battle you're having this year when it comes to your baseball fandom.
Yeah, it is. Really just need football to actually start for real, and then then it's like it's there if you need it, but, you don't even really have to think about it because right now there's just too much open space for me to pay attention. I mean, they're not good enough. They're not going to get it done, but, you know how it goes.
Oh, I know how it goes. Was it this time? I'm getting my years twisted up, so I honestly don't remember if it was last year or the year before that they went on some crazy run and got in the playoffs.
So
was that last year?
So 2 years ago, they were terrible, and they went on an insane run to make the playoffs.
That's it.
And then last year they carried it over. They were like the best team in baseball the first half of the year, and then they had an incredible collapse to lose the division at the very end to the Guardians, still got in as a wild card. In the last 2 years, basically they've had stretches where they were the best team in baseball and the worst team in baseball. It's like long stretches of both. It's actually bizarre.
I think that would drive me over the wall, Just pick one,
Yeah, and then
be somewhere in the middle.
Right, and of course, at least it used to be every 5 days, like it was must watch because of Tarek Skubal, and so now that's gone. So, well, he's not doing that great. I mean, I wish I could say I wish him well, but I don't wish ill on him. But I don't mind watching him struggle a little bit with the Dodgers.
Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Yeah, quite the I guess baseball battle here, huh? Up and down, day by day, one day at a time, as they say.
You watching the Mets every day?
No, I'm not watching the Mets every day. I do think they won yesterday. I think I saw they've won 10 of 12.
Wow.
I think they're still
buns.
9, 10, 11 games below 500. So they're not going to make, they're not good enough to do anything this year. But that's okay. There's always next year, right?
Yeah, very disappointing. Very disappointing.
I mean, it's typical Mets. Like, get out and spend all this money and still come in last place in the division, and that's just how it goes.
They are a good example of because obviously they do. They've been spending incredible amounts of money, and when people want to point to the Dodgers and just well, the Dodgers are do it like they're smart.
Yeah,
they're
although
good,
I guess I was reading the Tucker thing has not gone well for them.
Yeah.
This year, the whole contract. He was getting booed the other day after a pop, like a routine fly ball. He just straight up missed it. So I've heard that contract's not going great.
Yeah, when here and there, little trouble in paradise. They're still 75 and 51 with a 1 plus 142 differential, and they got 2 rotations worth of studs. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, good news is the Mets are only 17 and a half back from the Braves in the division. So there's still time.
Hey, all right. Just heating up right at the right time.
There are enough games to make that up.
Still time. Joe, just to, number one, make you mad. Number two, make me happy. Bring a little golf into the show.
Yeah.
I think I saw the most amazing stat of the year in sports. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
So the distance between Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 player in the world, and Rory McIlroy is the number 2 player in the world, just in terms of how they calculate these rankings, is greater than the distance between Rory, who's number 2, and the number 5,011th player in the world.
Whoa.
How about that?
Wow, that's impressive, especially because Scotty hasn't been winning anything.
That'll happen though when you just stack up top fives and every time you play.
Yeah. So Rory is obviously, he must be quite up and down then, huh?
Well, he barely plays.
Oh, okay. So some of
he
it
plays
is
like once every 5 weeks. Yeah.
But he's still number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tour needs I feel, obviously Scheffler's a guy a lot of people like, but I feel like that tour needs some new blood,
Yeah. They got some guys, but they're like young, so we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I thought that was a fascinating stat.
That is a heck of a stat.
We got a lot of things going on today on the program. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean will be with us at 7 o'clock. We'll get into all things Titans and a little college football with him, so looking forward to that. Justin Williams from The Athletic coming up at 8:30 on the program today. We've got an interesting piece to break down from Blake Bedingfield of PaulKuharski.com a little bit later in the program as well. But we begin today with a guy who's going to occupy a lot of our attention this year with the Tennessee Titans, and that is JC Latham. Went pretty well for JC Latham and the entire starting offensive line in the preseason opener against San Francisco. And then now you've got the next challenge of Seattle coming up later this week in the joint practice, the preseason game coming up on Sunday, and we'll see if they can continue to build on that. But obviously, we've talked in detail about how critical of a year this is from Latham. And yesterday at practice, Robert Saleh was asked about Latham, what he's seen from him this year, the progress he's made. And Saleh pointed out maybe something that he sees from him so far this year that he did not see from Latham on his tape last year. Here's what Robert Saleh had to say yesterday at practice.
I've known you, Robert, about JC as he's progressed through camp.
The one thing that he's done that I don't feel like we saw a year ago is the physicality at which he plays. He's at a really good weight, so his foot speed is where we want it to be, and we felt like he was always strong enough. But you combine the foot speed with the physicality that he's playing with, and he's moving people, he's strapping people at the line of scrimmage. The challenge for him is not to take his flowers. Right now, just stay on the grind, stay where he is, try to improve not only physically but mentally. And but he's tracking to have a really nice year. He's just got to stay the course.
Going back to JC, is that him making a conscious effort to be more physical, somebody challenging him? How does that?
I think it's all encompassing. I think it's always in there. When we evaluated him coming out of college, we felt like he was a big, strong, athletic, physical human being, and but it's all encompassing. He's always been massive. And that's what we've talked about with JC when we got here, and I'm sure it's been a topic of discussion for him in the past. But he doesn't have a weight problem. He can look at a weight when he's working out. He'll go look at a bar and he'll gain 5 pounds of muscle. So it's more of like he's an elite person. He's got elite work ethic. He's just got to be very conscientious. He can get as big as he wants to get. It's just going to affect his foot speed. So there's a balance of understanding that he's already plenty strong enough. How much can he work to keep his weight at a spot where he doesn't lose his strength, but he gains a bunch of speed? You don't want him to go down too much where he gains a whole bunch of speed and loses power. And so right now he's at a sweet spot, and he's just got to be able to maintain that.
So that was Saleh yesterday on the Latham front. Joe, I thought that was kind of very interesting, very encouraging about where he's at right now when it comes to JC Latham. What'd you make of that and kind of the challenge for Latham here moving forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, every once in a while, and this happened with Callahan too, but just saying, every once in a while, you got to tip the cap. I appreciate like Robert Saleh's willingness to dig in on stuff like this at times. I think that's great for media, fans, to give a little bit of insight beyond normal blah 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 coach speak, and it was interesting. And like you hear that. And then you pair that up with what we saw from Latham in that, in that first preseason game, all caveats, considered, backups and all that stuff. I gotta say, I'm quite a bit more encouraged about JC Latham today than I was, 5 days ago, like before that game, because there's still sort of kind of questions, ups and downs, and all that stuff. During practices, a little bit of the hip stuff, is he going to be healthy? And that's still a question for sure. But it just seems like he's found the sweet spot in terms of, his body where it needs to be. And, that's the thing with him, coming out of Bama and at Alabama was just destroying people, and of course that doesn't always translate. But if you're doing that in the SEC at the level he was doing it, to get yourself drafted 7th, that's something that I just don't think we've seen enough of. Seen some of it, seen glimpses of it, but is he about to become, one of those road grading right tackles, which Conklin was for this team? There's definitely some encouragement with him.
Well, I guess the thing that stood out to me the most, beyond the weight stuff, which is just fascinating. And by the way, he got up on the podium yesterday and was like, "Yeah, I've never really lost weight in a practice." He's like sweating profusely because it's 1,000,000,000 degrees outside. And I think he said yesterday he weighed 347 before practice, and he got back after practice and was 348. And it's like, oh, okay, so somehow you gained weight out there, drinking some water. So good for you.
It's got to be just crazy water retention, I guess, right?
I guess so. That was a very interesting point that he made. But like Salah's point of playing more physically, like I do feel like a lot of that's got to be mentality, right? Like you gotta have the right mentality, because I mean, look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at JC Latham and realize he's got the physical tools, right? Like there's a reason he went where he went in the draft. I mean, just not a whole lot of people physically built the way that he is. But I do, we've talked about this with Corey Curtis. We've talked about this with Kuarski. We've talked about it with a lot of people, of like playing with a nastiness and not over the line, not an edge, or not over the edge, but playing with a certain nastiness that I just don't know that we've seen a ton from him so far in his career. And that was probably the most encouraging part of what Salah said to me was it feels like he's got some of that so far in camp, and we'll see if he can keep it going by the time the regular season comes around.
Yeah, that has to be part of it. And if you don't have that, then it doesn't matter how big and strong you are. And again, and that is kind of what, just watching him in college, that's what I thought of him. Like, that guy's just a killer out there, And obviously it's been a lot of ups and downs, and while playing for a bad franchise here too, and having some challenges, not to not to excuse anything, but it can't be easy playing for this team with all the changes and all that stuff. So maybe he's found a groove here.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We're off and running on Robby and Rexrode. We got some more thoughts to get to on the JC Latham front, including some interesting comments that he had yesterday. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, The Game.
guess, physicality maybe more his first time really around you? You think making it more of a conscious effort to play more physically, or you just noticing that?
I think both ends of that is true. I think it's definitely making a conscious decision to play more physically, but I think the other end of it, as I said last time when I was up here, is, being a team that it was in the past, when you're looking to establish yourself not only as a player or as a unit, as an offense and team and franchise, there's no revolution without bloodshed, so every single day you're gonna step up and you're gonna be as physical as possible, impose your will day in and day out. So that's where you're gonna see tensions rise, tensions flare, and because it's a very emotional, very tension game. But yeah, just playing with physicality every single play through and through the whistle is something that we pride ourselves on, and one of our pillars of our unit.
That was JC Latham, Joe. There's no revolution without bloodshed. That was the tagline from his press conference yesterday that really jumped out to me. Good stuff there. Haven't heard that one in a football press conference before, Joe, so good to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of people love the war phrases in football. Even the trenches, the line of scrimmage, the trenches, and all the different things. But yeah, I've never heard that either. No revolution without bloodshed. We're talking like we're talking about the French Revolution here. This is
bayonets.
Yeah, I guess so. Bayonet would probably protect your quarterback. You could take a bayonet out there with you. Yeah. It'd probably help, I guess. But that was interesting. Yeah, that was like, oh, okay. I like it. Like, how long did you think about that one? Or did that just pop out?
I have to be totally honest. I was, doing other stuff yesterday, and I saw where you had put like a bloodshed comment in the grid. So I was like, I wonder what this is. So then I went and watched JC Latham's press conference. I did not expect that. Did not expect the no revolution without bloodshed comment. I was pleasantly surprised. It was good.
It was, yeah. So it's all pointing in the right direction for JC.
Seems to be.
He's saying interesting stuff and hitting people hard, and he and Jeff Simmons are friends, I guess. Friends again.
Well, he had an interesting answer on that too. He was asked about like Jeffrey Simmons and a lot of Carmona talk yesterday at his press conference too, which makes sense. Carmona looks like he's going to be the starting right guard for the Titans. We'll see how that plays out the rest of the camp. But Latham did expound a little bit on like some interesting history between him and Jeffrey Simmons yesterday at his press conference. Here's what Latham had to say.
Yeah, Coach felt that I owed him an apology for just going up to him, trying to basically get him off Schlotty. And I also felt that, it was a time we had to talk my rookie year. I can't remember what week it was. It was on the tail end of the year though. And we were basically trying to get on the same page. It's he's amazing, obviously. And I wanted to be the guy that challenged him, that made myself better going against him every single day. And, sometimes that a guy like him, people kind of see him as, this amazing player that they don't look at it. They look at it as a challenge more than an opportunity. So, and I want to be blessed with the opportunity to go against him every single day. And we had that talk. And unfortunately, it seems like so long ago, but, just getting hurt last year, I felt like I didn't have that chance as much. I missed a few weeks in training camp, a few weeks in the season. So, we didn't have that rhythm that we'd like to have. So, I also wanted to talk to him about like, hey, like, let's just establish ourselves. We pride ourselves on being fast and violent and being physical. So, we're just talking about everything on how we both can do better, how I can do better, how I can receive leadership better, how I can be a better leader myself for, our group. And, part of being a leader is being a good follower, a great follower. So how I can do that as well, understanding that, Jeff and Tajay gets into it all the time, but, they're like best friends. And, we were talking, and he was like, yeah, like, you got to understand, like, Jeff's always going to pick on Tajay. Tajay's always going to pick on Jeff, right? And we were getting to the point where it's like, hey, okay, like, we're not going to stand for it. Even if you guys are best friends, we got to have a standard for ourselves, And he said that's what he wants to see out of a O-line. He wants to see the guys, sticking up for each other. He wants to see the guys going to fight for each other, because he's showing, checking guys' temperature, seeing if they got backbone or not. You know what I mean? So just getting on the same page as that, understand that nothing was personal at all with anything that happened. Just understanding like that's just how the game gets played. You play with a high tension and a high emotion. So at the end of the day, if you're going to defend your brother, sometimes you're going against your own teammate and doing so.
So that was JC Latham's Joe's oral history of the relationship that is developed between him and Jeffrey Simmons. What did you make of that answer and kind of the background that he provided there?
It's funny because as he's talking on the YouTube chat, Jared Moore's like, JC hates Jeff, LOL, and Jess is like, yeah, they do seem to not love each other, huh? And I mean, I think that, this may be a stretch, but I have two sons who couldn't be more different as people. They just couldn't be more different as people, which sometimes can create conflict. Although, and we're kind of past that now, But one, and you know him better, Brennan is probably a little bit more of a Jeff Simmons type of person. Okay.
Yep.
And then Latham Latham's a thoughtful, introspective kind of guy, right? And I'm not saying he's not a big, tough football player, but they are different. I mean, Simmons is like, he's ready to fight and talk trash at a moment's notice, and he always has been that guy, right? And so it's probably, it just seems like there's probably some times when it's just been frustrating, but I think it's good to hear stuff like when they push back, he comes back and says, that's what I want to see. I mean, there is an element here with Jeff. I think sometimes it's just emotion, but I do think that as he's grown into a leader, sometimes it's also intentional and trying to push people and trying to get that out of them. And so that was a really interesting answer. And that's what came to mind is like, clearly they have not been on the same page. And Simmons has been frustrated with Latham, and he should be, because he sees this guy and he's like, this guy could be a great player, but he's not a great player. So you hope that all that he just explained there is kind of leading to him sort of opening his eyes a little bit and becoming the player that he should be. Also, there's probably going to be times when like they tangle again in the future. But again, with Jeff, and this is where I take it back to Brennan, like it's just like it's inevitable. He's inevitable, right? So it's how you deal with it on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Latham is not afraid to stick it to it, because one of the things he talked about there in that answer was like there are people that probably just back down from Simmons, and I understand it, right? Like Simmons is huge; he's one of the best players in the league, like all those things. But I kind of like that Latham almost, it kind of sounds like, goes out of his way to challenge Simmons and give it back to him. And you got to be a great player if that's going to happen for much longer, right? Like you got to be able to block the guy in front of you, and we'll see as the season goes on how JC Latham does doing all those things. But that's kind of like, I hear that, Joe, and I kind of think, okay, well that is some of that like nastiness, right? Like that's some of that, not backing down from anybody that I need to see more of on the field. And it doesn't have to be like, getting in somebody's face after a play, or somebody gets in the general direction of your quarterback and you grab them by their face mask and throw them on the ground. But like in between the whistles, play to play, I'm going to drive you back 10 yards and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Like a little bit more of that mentality from Latham. I think, I hear that entry he gave there, and that mentality kind of checks out with that. So all in all, given what we've seen so far in camp, what we saw in the game the other day, and how Saleh talked about him yesterday and some of the things he said, I'm with you. I think I'm a little bit more encouraged on the JC Latham front. Now we'll see what happens when actual games come around.
This isn't a war analogy, but iron sharpens iron. Have we heard this phrase? Iron sharpens iron. Iron. If you say that word a bunch of times, it really gets weird. It gets weird. Yeah. Iron. But and I thought, I agree with you. And what he said too, what Latham said in that long quote about how some people look at it as a challenge instead of an opportunity. In other words, some people are just intimidated by him, right? Yes. Some people are like, I don't want to mess with that dude. And he says he does. So good. I mean, I think that's all good. And I think again with Jeff, it's like I mean, he will talk trash. He will get in a shoving match with anybody. I believe anybody. Okay. But it's good to know that, like, I think maybe the targeting, the what we see as the perceived targeting of Latham, again, comes back to, like, this should be one of our best players. One, everybody knows where he was picked, but also, the talents.
Look at him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, what's going on here? So that to me is leadership.
I can't wait for the call this year, Joe, on the TV broadcast. It's like, wow, JC Latham's out there at right tackle with a sword. He's ready to go. He's protecting his quarterback at all costs.
Out there just swashbuckling. The big French hat.
Bloodshed. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back into the Titans here shortly. Gentry Estes coming up at 7 o'clock. Blake Bedingfield, interesting comments yesterday on DVD that we'll get into in the 7 o'clock hour as well. A comment on the Tennessee quarterback front that Joe will not stand for. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Jay in Clarksville, Joe, says, one preseason game, the feelings on JC's trajectory have changed for the better, and we've seen that Cam is meh. It'll be nice to have a team ready for the new quarterback. It's from Jay in Clarksville on the text line.
We've got it all figured out.
All figured out after 1 week of the preseason. Again, we'll have Gentry Estes from the Tennessean coming up here at 7:00. Joe, we talked about the quarterback battle at Tennessee yesterday, coming out of the first scrimmage between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. But a comment that you must address that you feel like does not have a place in this conversation as it relates to today's quarterback battle.
Well, no, I mean, I think it has a place, but it's the opposite of what people seem to think, which is, I mean, so, and this was a commenter from yesterday about, this reminds them of like Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker. Well, with the idea being that, basically like, Milton being McIntyre gets the job early, right? And then you find out at some point, and again, remember the reason that Hendon Hooker got the opportunities because Joe Milton got hurt in that Pittsburgh game. I think he got hurt on that really long run he had in that
Correct.
game. But so here's the thing about that. Milton won that job because like his physical skills were just undeniable. Now look, also I mean, there's difference. The staff recruited him, and Hooker was actually recruited there by Pruitt. So it was already like here's our guy we're bringing in, and that's not our guy. But bottom line is, as we saw both of them play, it's like, how could Hendon Hooker ever not win the job, right? It's like he's so much better. He was so good. But Milton's, as we know, and by the way, Milton, he's out there throwing seeds in the preseason.
He's going to have a longer NFL career than Hooker, I think.
Yeah, it's absolutely trending that way. So he just has a. So point being, this would be the reverse of that. So if Brandon has more to offer physically, right? Brandon, I think his overall skills, and I'm not sure if it's like bigger arm too, but certainly. Right? That'd be more like the guy who it's more like the intangibles that win you the job as opposed to being clearly more talented. That's what Joe Milton was. Faison Brandon is he's the Joe Milton of this competition. So I just wanted to I saw that, I'm like, yeah, no, the opposite of that is actually true.
I mean, the only thing I would say on that is I again go back to like the QB run game where Hooker is just a better runner than Milton was, and like Faison Brandon will be a much better runner than McIntyre would be.
That's true.
So yeah, that's the only.
Skill sets are
difference there.
Yeah, you're right.
Skill sets are different.
They're different. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's So the comparison would just be the arm, with Milton. I mean, look, again, if you want to just get Milton into a throwing contest with anybody in the NFL, he'll win. No one has that arm. So, but I think, granted, now Hooker had been there a little bit more, so, but it was still new for both of them, so that's kind of different too. In this case, you're talking about one more year for one guy, and the question is just whether Brandon's talent can compensate for that, and maybe we're starting to see that happen. But it's a big week ahead, I think, on that, and then that second scrimmage is really going to be telling, I think, in terms of whether he can flip this and overtake McIntyre.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I think I was looking at my time hop last night. I think it was like a year ago, right around this time, that Aguilar was named the starter, which it was a totally different situation when you're talking about somebody coming in as late as he did. You had McIntyre there. I mean, but it was pretty defined when Joey Aguilar signed last year that was who it was going to be. This one, I am really interested. Like that second scrimmage coming up, the timeline that we talked about yesterday with Heupel typically liking the name as starter. I'm interested to see if he does that. Like if, how quickly does he do it? Or do we get like closer to game week before he ever names a starter? Like that part of it's going to be really interesting. And the other thing is like, say what you will about Syracuse last year, but like you had an opening game if you're Tennessee against a Power 4 opponent. And the fact is you just don't this year. So like if you wanted to take a little bit longer to name a starting quarterback, you probably could if you're Heupel.
Yeah, and I don't know his whole history before Tennessee in terms of being willing to like split reps, but I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised. Again, both are going to play because whoever is QB2 should be able to get a good stretch in that game. But it's hard for me to believe that Heupel's going to do the 2 starter thing. Again, it could change.
Yes.
It might be McIntyre's just a little bit ahead, and he has earned it. And then maybe in the Georgia Tech game, Brandon, or McIntyre struggling, and you get the quick hook. That could be. But it's hard because I just feel like I don't know if it's more so with this offense, but if you're not getting reps with those receivers, yeah, the offense is different, but there's still, the deep choice stuff is still part of the offense. And so it's so important that the QB and the receivers read those coverages exactly the same way, so that, okay, clearly you're coming back on this one, or clearly you're going on this one. I don't know. It just seems like Heupel is both of them are young quarterbacks. How are you going to take away reps when whoever is quarterback needs every single one, right? So I think he's going to name one after that second scrimmage.
I hope so. I mean, that would be I think that would be beneficial on that front. The other interesting part about this is like I think, and this may sound crazy given the fact that they've had a receiver that's won the Bolitnikoff Award, and I don't expect either one of these guys to do that. But like if you could get a third receiver this year that you feel pretty good about, like there's a chance that this could be like the best overall receiving group that they've had. I mean, I don't know where Staley's going in the draft, but he's going somewhere in the draft. Like Matthews, Matthews is interesting, Joe, because like from a physical profile standpoint, I mean, he made, Feldman's freak list. Like he's got a lot of physical tools that I think translate pretty well to the next level. I mean, the problem is it's a receiver in this offense. I was really interested to see how Brazel was going to do in the NFL this year, and now he's not going to play. So we'll see kind of what that looks like. But I think if you could find a third receiver that becomes pretty reliable, and I don't know who that's going to be. I mean, there's a couple of different options there that it could be. It could be Jackson, it could be Smith. People talking about TK Keys as a freshman. We'll see what that looks like. But this could be like the most talented receiving group that they've had since he got there. Now, talent, production are two different things, but we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, it's up there for sure. And and that's a great thing. And that's for either guy. I mean, that's a great security blanket. Should mean a lot. But again, it's like those guys had Aguilar throwing to them last year. How important is it for them to also get comfortable with whoever's going to be the guy in there, and build that chemistry and those little nuances that sometimes really make a big difference in the flow of a game.
It's got to matter some.
Yeah, I would think so.
Definitely has to matter. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The AP poll out in college football. Are the Vols being disrespected? Well, somebody in particular was very disrespectful on the Vols yesterday. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Robby and Rexrode here with you on this Tuesday morning. We'll have Gentry Estes from the Tennessean here in about 13 minutes or so to kick off the 7 o'clock hour. Joe, the AP poll out yesterday for college football, which a lot of people seemingly want to eradicate, which we've talked about here on the show. But Tennessee coming in at number 20 on the AP poll. Lots of different reaction to that, including, Joe, this reaction from friend of the show, Heather Dinich, who was on, I believe, with McAfee yesterday. So I wonder if she got to hear any of the album. This is what she had to say on Tennessee's place in the AP poll.
You go to the SEC on the outside looking in, and I can't believe Tennessee is even ranked.
What? Love it.
Why is Tennessee ranked, let alone number 20? I mean, they better find a quarterback and find some answers fast there. I have so many questions about them. Not to say they can't do it, but preseason, based on answers, not question, I don't know why the Vols are in there.
So Heather Dinich throwing some shade at Vol Nation. That did not go over well, I'm sure, on Vol Twitter, Joe. Your thoughts on Heather Dinich taking a major issue with Vols being ranked number 20 or being ranked at all?
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with her, but I did like what she said right after that. She's like, also, I'd like to tell everyone that Pat McAfee's album is amazing. You should listen to it. Every track is really good.
We think that like people who work for ESPN have gotten press releases about this thing or like the internal emails that are like, hey, let's pump this album up.
I think there's jobs at stake here. I'm promoting McAfee's album. I mean, when the coaches poll came out, I think I said that on the show, right? I'm like, wow, like that's a program respect ranking a little bit.
And what were they in that? 18?
I think so. Yeah, they're 18. They're 18 in the coaches. You know, she's not wrong about the quarterback. I think it's always just, okay, let's compare it then. Let's look around. Let's look at the teams around them, right? I see SMU at 19. Look, SMU is my pick to win the ACC, by the way. So I think they're underranked where they are. Penn State, new coach. Now, Rocco Becht was a guy who's a pretty good quarterback at Iowa State. Utah's got Devin Dampier back. But then you get into, Iowa, Houston, Missouri's down there at 25. If you want to go others receiving votes, Clemson didn't get the program respect a bump here. They're the first one.
I bet Dabo's so mad.
His buddies in the coaching profession put him at 23. But look at like right after others receiving votes, you got Florida. Florida's the second team out receiving votes. I mean, I have questions about Tennessee too, but I've got way more questions about Florida. And then you're getting to Boise and Arizona and TC, like South Carolina,
By the way, Vanderbilt got 8 votes.
Yeah, so Vanderbilt would be 26, 7, 8, 9, 34. Vanderbilt would be 34th in the ranking. Again, the new QB thing is totally fair. I think the Chaz Coleman thing is something that people who don't follow Tennessee on a day-to-day basis, right? Like they're aware of that. That's a big loss. I would also say when you really dig in on the other teams that are around them, like there's a level of talent at Tennessee that has been built up in the Josh Heupel era. As you've said before, this looks like this could be the most talented team on paper. Terrific receiving core, outstanding running back room, and what looks like it could be one heck of an offensive line. So ultimately, it's a little bit of disrespect from Heather because it's when you want to look at any of these things in a vacuum. I mean, I could look at Michigan at 16 and be like, yeah, you sure? Michigan? I mean, I like the new coach. Whittingham's a good coach, no question. Is Bryce Underwood any good? I mean, like the unknown quarterbacks of Tennessee versus what we saw Bryce Underwood as a freshman last year. Now, we know what a huge recruit he was, but we saw a lot of flaws, right? He looked like a true freshman. Of course, you could also flip that around and say, so Faison Brandon's probably really talented too, and you think we're not going to see freshman quarterbacking from him if he plays?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think this is that hard. Like Alabama's a pretty good example, right? Alabama's at 13th. I'm going to assume that nobody has a problem with Alabama being ranked in the top 20.
And then we have the same
because of the
question.
talent that they have around them, but it's the exact same question. They are totally unproven at quarterback. Like they're, people are excited about the quarterbacks that they have, just like, to differing degrees. People are excited about Tennessee's quarterback, but it's about the talent that's around the rest of the roster. So, like, I mean, you tell me, Joe, I was not surprised at all that Tennessee was ranked yesterday. Like, I would have been probably surprised if they weren't ranked heading into it.
Yeah, like if you want to make the case that 22, 23 might be, that's going into the rankings. Like that's when the 18 hit, I was like, dang, 18, okay. That's a little bit more than I thought. I would have, if I would have had to predict where Tennessee would have been, or maybe even put them on my ballot. But there's two different things, right? Like predict where they have been, I would have been like around 23. Put them on my ballot. Once you start going through it all, maybe I would have had them higher because then you start looking at the other team's warts and questions, and when you're familiar with a team, I'm more familiar with Tennessee than a lot of these teams. Then you understand like there is a lot of talent there, and that's one thing that maybe Heather Dinich is, as a Big Ten graduate, not respecting the SEC, the uppity Big Ten, just looking down at the SEC.
All right, so I'm going to go through the top 7 real quick in the AP. You tell me which one is the most disrespected. You ready?
Okay.
All right, 1, Ohio State, 2, Oregon, 3, Georgia, 4, Notre Dame, 5, Texas, 6, Indiana, 7, Miami.
Indiana?
Who has the biggest gripe?
Indiana. And, they got 8 first-place votes, by the way. But I mean, Indiana at 6, and I understand. I totally understand. Like, I don't think Josh Hoover is going to be Fernando Mendoza. But at the same time, you tell me Kurt Cignetti is just going to, like, never lose another game, I believe you. Like knock off the champ, until someone does. I mean, they're the 3rd highest picked Big Ten team. By the way, on your whole preseason rankings, as you brought up again there, and as Rittenberg and I have gone back and forth and everything, I tried to get him on day. He couldn't do it. He had kid transportation stuff going on, but no SEC team with a first place vote. Because, the whole bitching about the preseason poll, it's Big Ten people. And Rittenberg has been covering the Big Ten like for 25 years. And it's like this idea that basically the SEC gets way more respect in the preseason poll. And so then people think the league is better. And so then everything is skewed by that. Well, I'm seeing the top 2 teams are from the Big Ten. And then I see 3 of the top 6 from the Big Ten. I see no first place votes for the SEC. So have we flipped it around? Is it time for SEC people to complain about preseason polls because it's skewed against them?
I'm pretty stunned that nobody gave Texas a first place vote.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm
not saying that I would have. I'm just stunned that nobody did.
I might have, honestly. Like if I was a voter this year, I actually might have put Texas number 1. Like I would have considered it. No, you're right. I mean, Miami gets a first place vote. They got Mensa. Interesting. They lost. I mean, that was some serious talent on the defensive side of the ball, Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That is surprising. Also with Oregon, have you seen like apparently Nike stock is tanking? Have you guys seen this?
I have seen this.
So they better
the football program's going to fall apart.
They better win it this year, man. Like next year they're going to be like, they're going to be losing dudes to the Maction. They better win the whole damn thing this year.
I totally forgot that Dylan Raiola is their backup. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a smart move by him, honestly. I mean, a lot of people would be like, why do you want to mid-career sit? But he might be backing up the number 1 overall pick. I mean, we'll see. I feel pretty good in saying he's backing up a first-round pick.
Yes.
And then he'll get his chance. I don't hate that strategy at all. I think he should stop taking shots at Lincoln, Nebraska, though.
He does not appear to like Lincoln, Nebraska very much. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean will be with us coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking some football, and to help us do that, we head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Gentry Estes to the program from the Tennessean. Gentry, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. We can talk about polls all we want, but I will not stand for any hate for Lincoln, Nebraska. That is a good place with good people, passionate fans, as Joe and I learned in March.
Well, take it up with Raiola, man.
Yes.
He just keeps running his mouth about that place.
I know, yeah.
And that's his dad's. That's like his. I mean, that's like a legacy place too. You know, like that's where his dad played when they used to be good at football.
So excited about getting him to Nebraska. I remember how big a deal that was. It was a lot like Scott Frost. It didn't go very well.
Yeah, together that was gonna be unstoppable.
Is he still like
were they ever
hiding
together?
out in Patrick Mahomes' closet trying to, imitate every square inch of his style all the time? Was that still a thing for Raiola? Do we know?
I mean, the hair definitely. I mean, he's got it. He's got it down for sure.
He does. He does. So, Gentry, let's start here. A bit of a scary play yesterday with Carnell Tate at Titans practice. He goes up, he makes a spectacular catch. It comes down, gets hit, and had to go get evaluated after practice. It sounds like the Titans avoided a disaster there, but what was that like watching that yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it was a spectacular catch. He held onto the ball. I guess we should probably that's really the headline, I guess.
Yeah.
But Kevin Winston is going to be a good safety. I believe that. He's fast, he's got good range, and he's really physical, but he needs to not hit the number 4 overall pick in the draft. That's not what you want. And, and it's, look, guys, I want to be able to watch some good football this season. And, there aren't that many needle movers still on that roster, but that dude's one of them. Carnell Tate is one of them. And so when he goes airborne and makes a catch and you go into him in a defenseless way, that's, they were fortunate. They were fortunate they didn't come out with there wasn't anything more serious out of that. And I do believe also from just a football standpoint, he would have been flagged for that during a game. You can go into a defenseless player like that.
So Carnell Tate, a guy who, and it wasn't really able to get involved much, in the first preseason game, but consistently he's been out there making plays. And it seems, Gentry, like Cam Ward, especially of late in practice, has played well, has thrown the ball well, has been more good than bad. He was more bad than good in the preseason game. So, as you might imagine, there has been some complaining and some freaking out around here, since then. How do you put that in perspective for us? The way he looked in that game versus what you've seen in the practice field, and how people should digest that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the preseason game was terrible. There's no other way to spin that. I mean, it looked bad, and it was made worse by the fact that he was out there operating against 49er backups. There wasn't really a handy excuse for what we saw. The O-line played pretty well. The receivers were who you would want out there. He had the whole first offense out there against a group of second and third stringers, and it just didn't go very well. I think there's probably something to the idea of him getting sped up, as the Titans said, and on some of these fastballs that just weren't anywhere near the receivers. But there were also plays where he just didn't look like he knew where to go with the ball, and he just held on to it. That intentional grounding play, and it was a throw late. He's like he wasn't picked off. I mean, it was bad. It was not what you would want for what should have been a relatively easy or just standard kind of situation where you're able to do what you want to do against a backup defense. He certainly wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. Now, from what we've seen in practice, I do think Ward has improved over the course of this preseason. He's been a good bit more accurate here in the last couple of practices. But you really do need to see it against another team. I mean, they've got the Super Bowl champs coming in for a joint practice later this week. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes in all areas for the Titans, really, but the quarterback more than most. And, we'll see how it goes in a preseason game. I think the big concern I would have on Cam from Cam's standpoint is a lot of the things that we saw over the summer that were concerning, mostly just a lack of accuracy, being unable to make what should be pretty easy short throws, kind of showed up again in that preseason game. And I think that still remains the biggest concern about Cam, for all the intangibles, for all the things you like, for all the, good a leader he is, the way his teammates respond to him. You got to be able to throw the ball and to a receiver. You got to be able to take the completions that are there. And I think he's done a lot better job dinking and dunking and taking those completions in practice. But, the fact that it didn't translate to a preseason game was concerning. There's no other way around it.
So, Gentry, it was an interesting press conference from JC Latham yesterday, talking about the no revolution without bloodshed. So, didn't expect to see that one in the football press conference, but I did enjoy it. What have we thought about the way that he has played in camp to this point? Are you more encouraged than maybe you were heading into camp on the JC Latham front?
A couple of weeks ago, I said on here that if you guys asked me about JC Latham in a couple of weeks, that's a bad thing. And you know what? I was wrong, because Latham has played pretty well. It's not a bad thing. I think he's had a pretty good camp so far. Robert Saleh was pretty complimentary of him yesterday and the physicality he's showing. I'm not really that shocked by that, because I do remember this time last year, Latham was having a good camp. I felt like the hip injury that he dealt with early last season really set him back from what had been a pretty encouraging preseason. I don't know if this guy's ever going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player for the Titans, but I do think he is a starting level right tackle in the NFL, and he's playing that way. It's just a matter of, I think for him, it's been more a health issue, and can he stay out there and this and that. And then so far it's looked pretty good. It's looked pretty good for the entire O-line. I think for all the concerns that we've had up front, those aren't going to go away, but they do appear to have a right guard, and it's not who anyone would have thought. I don't know if it's good or bad that you have a 5th-round rookie just stepping in and taking that job. I'm not sure what that said about some of the guys he was competing with. But I think he's played pretty well. And I think there's a surprising amount of confidence in Carmona at that spot. So now you look across the front, and it's not great, but it does look maybe a little better than what we thought going into preseason.
Yeah, I feel like, you don't want a Carmona situation to happen like by default. You want it to be – I do feel like it's early enough that it's like, okay, this guy is more – it's more like – it seems like more seizing the job than it's just so bad. Everyone's they're just resorting to him. But, maybe I'm –
No, I agree with that. It'd be different if it's week 3 and they're not blocking anybody. It's like, well, let's see if he can do it. No, this does seem like a guy who's taking the job.
Yeah. Now, to flip it back to some concerns, how about that? How about those corners, Gentry? I mean – like in particular Cordell Flott, right? I mean he was just absolutely shredded in this last game, and it doesn't. And then it's like Cam Ward had a much big bounce back in that practice, and it's like, yeah, well, maybe it's a little easier for him with some of these corners. Or do you have a different outlook on them than maybe you did when camp started?
I mean, it's so discouraging when you watch that preseason game and the 49ers have a 2nd-round rookie out there just lighting up the Titans, just making all these catches. And meanwhile, the Titans' number 4 overall pick gets targeted 3 times and doesn't catch any of them. It was just a discouraging overall presentation there. And I think a lot of it did have to do with the corners on the Titans side. Yeah, it's concerning. We kind of, going into the preseason, I think there was a lot of concern at that position, but it was more a depth issue. You're thinking, okay, well, they at least got 2. It'll be week 6 or 7 before they get hurt. Now you got to worry about that, but there's at least 2. And now, it didn't look good for Flott. It hasn't looked good for a lot of this preseason. And you would like to, you need at least a couple of guys out there that you can feel comfortable leaving on an island, that it might be okay. And, right now, the Titans at corner, the real concern here is if the top guys aren't those guys, I don't know who else you have that is, because that was one of the weaker, thinner areas of the team anyway.
All right, Gentry, how do you see Blaise Berlowitz versus Jared Curtis playing out for Vanderbilt this fall?
Oh, that's a good question. I was out there at the scrimmage on Saturday, and look, I admire the fact. I wrote this. I admire the fact that Clark Lee allows us to go watch his scrimmages. You're able to kind of make your own mind up when you're out there watching. Unlike, say, Tennessee, where you just have to take word of mouth on what's going on and try to read between what Heupel's saying, and everyone thinks they know what's going on with Tennessee when no one really does because you can't really watch it. Vanderbilt, you actually can watch it. And I feel like if you watch these scrimmages, it's pretty clear who the best quarterback is. It's been that way since the spring. You're talking about a guy who has first-round NFL talent against another guy who would perhaps be a serviceable college quarterback. And the talent level isn't close. But the more you see this, it feels obvious to the point that you wonder, why are we still talking about it? Why is this still an open competition? It's so obvious to me that I'm interested in why we don't know who the starter at Vanderbilt is yet. I don't know is there something Jared Curtis needs to be doing that he isn't? Is there something we're missing with Blaise Berlowitz? I continue to believe as we get closer to the opener that Jared Curtis is going to be the guy. I think Vanderbilt is giving him every opportunity to do that. I think if Berlowitz was going to be the choice, he already would be. There's not, maybe a lot you haven't seen there from a senior, whereas I think what you're seeing now is just giving Curtis more and more opportunities, but they haven't named him the starter yet. And it's an interesting situation to me. It's a very first world problem for Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt's ever had this very often, where you see some of these bigger programs where they get the Arch Manning in there and everybody wants to start him right away. I don't think that's happened at Vanderbilt too much, but it's an interesting dynamic to this preseason. That said, we've talked so much about the quarterbacks at Vanderbilt. The rest of the team's pretty good. And I don't think that's getting as much attention as it probably should be. The fact that they really have built up the roster pretty well on both lines of scrimmage. And I think this has the potential to be another pretty good Vanderbilt team. They've got to figure out quarterback, obviously, but they got a lot of good running backs. And I think no matter who the quarterback is, they're going to lean pretty heavy on that run game, will play action. I think they could get this figured out and have a pretty good team.
I think that's really interesting, Gender, because I guess, just watching it one time, I'm obviously I agree on the trajectory, the overall talent, but I do feel like with Berlowitz, it's like, he's been in that offense. You would assume there'd be a pretty big chunk more of it available with him, and that maybe early you have a better chance to win with a guy who's been in that offense for so long, even though it's probably inevitable that Curtis wins the job. But I don't know. I mean, I guess at the same time, if that's the case, then why not start with the
one
freshman?
thing I think that's a little different with Tim Beck and what they do at Vanderbilt is I think there's a lot more flexibility in what they do offensively. I think they have the ability to shape the offense a little more around who is doing it. That said, they would have to, I'm sure, thin the playbook a little bit if it's a freshman as opposed to a senior. But I do think there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what they're going to be able to do. I mean, you're talking about an offense that in 2004 wanted to keep the ball for 45 minutes and shorten a game and run the clock and do all this stuff. And the very next year with Pavia, they're throwing it all over the place. And it's a remarkable amount of flexibility for one offensive coordinator and play caller to have that kind of range with largely the same players. So I feel like what they're going to pattern what they do around the quarterback. And either way, I think a lot of it's going to be based around Cedric Alexander, MK Young, some of these running backs. They're very deep at running back. They brought in some new guys that I feel like they're going to want to get the football to. And maybe the receivers aren't quite what we saw a year ago, maybe not as deep there, but I feel like this is a team that's going to run the ball and probably do it pretty well.
Gentry, awesome stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. We're getting closer to actual football taking place. Looking forward to that. And we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
You bet. Take care, guys.
Yep, Gentry Estes from the Tennessean does an outstanding job covering all things Tennessee sports. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into some very interesting comments from Blake Bedingfield on DVD yesterday. Robby and Rexrode 1025 The Game. Hey, Robby Stanley here. We're getting closer and closer to fantasy football this year. The drafts are coming up. You're making your plans. And I'm here to tell you, Twin Peaks is the spot to be. They got 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, a $50 bonus card for the commish, and an additional $5 bonus card for every drafter as well. It's the perfect spot for your fantasy football draft party. So call to book your draft party today at the Twin Peaks in Madison. Visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasy draft for more information. That's twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasy draft for more information. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate Gentry Estes for being with us in the last segment. Joe, an interesting piece in the aftermath of the Titans' first preseason game from Blake Bedingfield at paulkuharski.com. And we're going to get some comments that he made here in just a second on DVD yesterday. But he was, talking about Cam Ward, going over what he saw in game one, some of the misses. He talks about how the misses that he saw in game one kind of looked like the same misses that he had a year ago. So that part of it is concerning. But I want to read a couple of lines that kind of stand out to me, and then we'll get into some comments from Blake Bedingfield from yesterday. He said, quote, "The Titans coaching staff and front office need to forget where Ward was drafted and the expectations that go along with that spot and evaluate him as the player that he is. They have to mold him by highlighting his best plays and not allowing him to be the improviser and playmaker that he thinks he is." It goes on later in the piece to say Ward would be better off becoming a Brock Purdy instead of a Patrick Mahomes. So Bedingfield, some pretty strong stuff there. He was on with DVD yesterday and was asked about that. Here's what Blake Bedingfield had to say.
Ward would be better off becoming a Brock Purdy instead of a Patrick Mahomes. Two-part question to start, Blake. How capable do you think Ward is of being that Brock Purdy type, and how successful do you think he can be if he were to adopt that style?
It's a good question to ask, because if you would ask me this question last year, I would have a different answer. This year, the front office went out and surrounded him with talent like Carnell Tate, like Wan'Dale Robinson. You add that to the mix of Calvin Ridley being back healthy, Gunnar Helm, another year in the system, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. So you have a group of offensive personnel around him to have success like a Brock Purdy. Patrick Mahomes is one of one. He's an elite player. He's a special talent. He's an improviser, an ad-libber. He's someone who can take off-script plays and make unbelievable plays with it. Cam Ward has arm talent. He has the ability to spin the ball from different arm angles, whether it's rolling out to his right or his offside, his off-arm side to his left. He can be a pocket passer as well. What he has to do is define who he is. And when I said that about the coaching staff, kind of forgetting where he was drafted, when you're the 1-1 in the draft, when you're drafted number one overall, there's a lot of expectations of what type of talent you're going to be. Cam Ward is a good player and will be a good player in this league. Is he an elite superstar type player? Maybe. Not right now, he's not. But there's potential down the road. But right now, he needs to be more of a manager of the game and utilizing the talent that the front office went out and got. Calvin Ridley, Carnell Tate are really good route runners. They're good hands players, and they can separate from defensive backs. Utilize those talents to be run after the catch type players. Tate's probably not as good of a run after catch as Ridley, but they both have that. Wan'Dale Robinson's a high volume receiver, someone who can get 4 to 8 yards and be a check down type player. Gunnar Helm has the same ability as a tight end. And then when you mix in Tajay Spears out of the backfield, you start to put the pieces together that allow him to be more comfortable passing the ball around and not taking as many shots, or in some situations putting his offense in a negative situation like he did the other night with that potential fumble would end up being a down.
So that was Blake Bedingfield, Joe. A lot of stuff to kind of sift through there. What do you make of like all this that Bedingfield has thrown out there about the coaching staff, how they need to view Ward, becoming Brock Purdy instead of Patrick Mahomes, which I'm sure will get Titans fans excited. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think really interesting stuff from Blake, and I generally agree. I guess the only thing I'd take issue with is like, I think in both cases, it's not, what he's saying is you got to be more of a game manager than a playmaker, right?
Correct. If
you want to break down quarterbacks that way, I guess what I'd take issue with is, can he become a Brock Purdy? Like the Patrick Mahomes stuff was always overstated and exaggerated, and I mean, was that Louis Riddick? Was Louis Riddick pushing that one?
Yes.
And it's just like it's so unfair to anybody, right, in the first place. And yeah, here and there, obviously Cam Ward has made some plays where that comes to mind stylistically, but it's just like, calm down. I mean, Patrick Mahomes,
a long way to go.
Yeah, becoming a Brock Purdy. well, I think Brock Purdy makes up for. I heard, in the follow-up conversation, I heard D-May saying this yesterday, and I agree. I think that Brock Purdy is probably a top 5 processor in the league. He makes up for there's a Kirk Cousins element there with him where you're making up for what you lack for the things you lack that got you drafted as late as you did, in his case, the last freaking pick, with super fast processing and just getting the ball out. And he's been surrounded by great talent, and he has Kyle Shanahan as a coach. But I think at this point, I think anybody who pays attention to the NFL would have to agree he's very good. On his own, as a quarterback, he's very good. But that particular skill he has, which I think is one of the most important skills a quarterback can have. Obviously, if you have that and you have Matt Stafford's arm, great. Well, that's even better. Okay. And he's never going to be that, but that's pretty special. And so that's like becoming Brock Purdy. Yeah. I mean, I guess the idea being like being more of a player like that, but even that to me right now, based on what we're seeing from Cam Ward, is lofty.
Well, Brock Purdy is really good and he's very accurate. So there's the
Right.
other thing is
quick processing,
accuracy with the ball
and accuracy. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear Blake say this, Robbie. Sorry, but just in terms of like the Titans coaching staff and front office need to forget. I never thought about it that way, and I'd love to hear their response to that, which is, you know what I mean? Like, are they doing things? Are they going about their business in a way that is a disservice to him because they think, well, he was the number 1 pick and this is what he should be? I don't know. Obviously Blake Bedingfield has been in front office, so he knows how it goes. And you don't necessarily think of that. To me, it's just always like, develop him, give him plays that work for him, give him good players, let him become whatever he is as a quarterback. But do they need to philosophically shift in any way here?
It's a great question. A lot more to get to on this front. We'll take your thoughts. 615-737-1025. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Keep up with training camp with 102.5 The Game for the latest updates, player interviews, and more as you get prepped for the upcoming football season. Coverage of training camp is presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants, Parma Tractor and Equipment, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025 on what Blake Bedingfield, former director of college scouting for the Titans, had to say, current contributor at paulkuharski.com. Basically saying they need to focus in on Cam Ward playing more like Brock Purdy than like Patrick Mahomes. A lot of different thoughts to get to on that. Joe, one texter says, for Borgonzi to admit to Amy that Cam is a game manager means admitting he screwed up the pick. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. That's what one texter says. I choose to read the forget about it in the Borgonzi voice as well.
Yeah, forget about it. Forget about it. I wrote back, I totally disagree with this. Game managers win Super Bowls all the time. He just needs to be good.
Well, that's fine, but I totally agree with that text. Like if you're Borgonzi, for him, if you're admitting by year 2 that you need him to be a game manager and that's what he's going to be, then what the heck did you take him number 1 overall for?
Well, then you and I disagree on the connotation of game manager versus playmaker. I just think it's style. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a game manager. he doesn't, to me, like a playmaker is like
Matthew Stafford is not a game manager.
Sure he is. He's a great game manager. So is Jared Goff. I mean, Matthew Stafford's better because he has a better arm. But I mean, again, this is how I define it. So, I mean, I guess we need to come to like an agreed upon definition football wide, but
we do, because Matthew Stafford is not one.
Yeah, I mean, a playmaker to me means that you're employing your legs in some way. Like to some extent, you're at least extending plays. You don't have to be like a huge runner, but you are playgrounding it to a certain. Tom Brady, absolutely a game manager. That's what he is. He's a dude who stood in the. To me,
we have totally different definitions of game manager then.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it is a pocket passer. It is someone who plays within the structure of the offense, gets the ball out fast, and stays ahead of the chains. Of course, you still make big plays. You make plays downfield. You can be a great player and be a game manager. But a playmaker versus a game manager, to me, is like I just said. I mean, Peyton Manning's a game manager, the ultimate game manager. That's what those guys are. So that's my definition. That's always been my definition of those two terms. Whereas playmaker is just, again, there's just more. I mean, like in this league now, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I would put Jalen Hurts. I mean, anybody who runs a fair amount, I would certainly put Mahomes in there. And plays out of structure and excels out of structure, to me, is a playmaker. Game manager is the in structure quarterback. So if that's different, we need to, I don't know, I guess we need to take it to.
I've never heard anybody define a game manager that way in my life ever.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I've just never heard anybody do that. Like, Matthew Stafford is an elite quarterback. He's an elite quarterback that, yes, he doesn't run around. He makes all kinds of freakish plays in a game with his arm. Like, he is not a game manager. Peyton Manning is not a game manager. Now, does he manage a game very well? Yes. But, those guys single-handedly carry teams. I don't think of game managers when I think of people single-handedly elevating organizations. That is to me what a game manager is. Ryan Tannehill. That's what a game manager is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can win a lot of games with a game manager, but you're never going to ask Ryan Tannehill to carry the entire weight of your franchise on his shoulders, right? Like, that to me is what a game manager is.
Yeah. I don't know. Most people seem to agree with you, but that's how, when I hear those terms, that's what I think of. Caleb says, I think game manager a step below those guys you're talking about, Joe. When you're mentally like Manning, you're more than a game. Yeah, I get it. So you guys are taking game manager as an insult, and I just never have.
Yes.
To me, it's just like, it's a style, and it's ball out, quick, accurate, again, Tom Brady is just like a Brock Purdy in terms of drafted way down the list because he doesn't have, some of the same skills that other guys who got drafted high do, but he made up for it with elite game management. I do have some people agreeing with me. Yeah, staying within structure. I mean, that's what it is to me. And of course, every quarterback has to at times get out of structure. Peyton Manning certainly made plays where he extended plays and things like that. But for the most part, is within the structure of the offense and is on time, on target, and that's how he gets it done. Someone says Eli Manning is my idea of a game. Yeah, there you go. That's so some people, like, to your definition, Robbie, would be like, well, Eli is a game manager, Peyton is a playmaker. Peyton's way better than Eli Manning, but to me, they're the same style. Neither of them could move at all. And when they succeeded, it's, just playing point guard and getting the ball out to your playmakers.
Yeah. I guess we just view it differently. I think if you are putting the team on your shoulders and you are a good enough quarterback where the total game plan is all in your hands, to me, you're not a game manager. Not every quarterback is going to be running around like Mahomes or Josh Allen or anything like that. Stylistically, I guess I would agree with you, but I've never thought of game manager quite in those terms. So I guess it's just a difference of definition that we've got here.
Well, I'd like to know, I'd like to know how Bedingfield views it. Does he think elite players can be game managers?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, that's how I've thought of it. But maybe we need a third category. It's playmaker. Because again, I just stylistically, I've never thought of Brady as a great quarterback, but like a playmaker. Playmaker to me is like Brett Favre. Even the Packers, all three of their guys, I would put them in the playmaker category because, Rodgers ran around more than people realize. I mean,
yes,
Rodgers with ridiculous throws, Favre, absolutely. And Jordan Love too. Maybe we need a third category. It's like stylistically what the game manager that I'm talking about, but top shelf,
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe we'll have to come up with a different category.
Yeah, just call them, the Dan Fouts category.
If that's what Bedingfield means is your definition, then that's fine. You can, Borgonzi, that's you can admit that. If it's what I was thinking of when he's talking game manager and Borgonzi's like, yeah, I just think that's what he is by the first part of year 2. Well, if I'm the owner, I'm looking at him and being like, so that's what you think he's turned into and you drafted him number 1 overall? Oh, great. That's going to work out well for us.
Yeah. It really depends on how you view that term. But, so if we agree that Brock Purdy is a game manager, I can't, to me, yeah, sure. If at some point you're like, he's not as good as we thought, then of course. I mean, I think you could probably, at this point, it's trending that way that it's at what point is everybody gonna be like, oh no, now we see why he was the number 1 overall pick? I mean, it could happen, but to me, it's more like, okay, well, if you can be as good as Purdy, and again, I don't think he's ever gonna be the exact same type of player, but if you can be as good as Purdy, where is Purdy? I mean, I have to maybe look at the QB tiers, but Purdy's top half of the league, right?
I would assume so. Yeah. I mean, when he's on his game, for sure.
If you're winning football games and you have a top half of the league quarterback, I mean, that's a way better outcome than some of these number 1 overall picks, right? I mean, at this point, if you're a Titans fan, if you're Amy, I would hope that you'd take that at this point.
Yeah, I would also just kind of disagree. Some people are talking about you got to be able to run around a little bit to be a playmaker. I don't think that's true at all. I think Stafford's a great example of that. You're not going to find Stafford running around very much, but Stafford will get rid of a ball with 3 people in his face, and he'll put it 60 yards down the field on a rope right where it's supposed to be. I call that making a play. Not everybody can make that play, right? That's so, that's a play. Brady made plenty of those where there's somebody in his face and he just throws an absolute frozen rope 31 yards out to the, on the sideline right where it's supposed to be. That's a playmaker. So yeah, he's not running around, but Like that's probably to me more important of a skill of being a playmaker.
It's a game manager with an elite arm.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's what I mean.
Maybe so. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. We'll take more of your thoughts on Cam Ward and the Titans. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
It's just one more reason we're all dying soon.
Go to the restroom in there, and I look to my left, and there's a picture of me just kind of staring at it. It's me and you.
Hey, guys, you guys need a plumber? But it wasn't like above the urinal.
Urinal cakes.
Yay, Johnny! Yeah! All right!
I'm going to go play for the Hendersonville Explosion.
Just explosions all over the place.
I did not go number 2 during this. I'm going with the Bears over the Cougars.
There may not be that many cougars in the hills, but there are coyotes. These people need to be arrested.
It is time for the Rex Rant, served by the Wine Cellar in Hendersonville. We welcome more of your thoughts at 615-737-1025. I do need to read this quick text from Steven from Hendersonville, Joe, before I get back to you.
Okay.
It says, we're supposed to listen to that rubbish Joe just spewed, yet we're to believe him when he says there's no South Detroit. After that take, I think I'll believe Steve Perry. Thank you, Steven.
There's actually an entire city called South Detroit. I've been hiding it from you.
That's right.
It's where they actually staged the moon landing. There's a studio in South Detroit where they staged the moon landing. So,
good.
Thank you, Steven. Before I get into my complaint today, I want to read this real fast from 6:02 a.m. Unnamed texter. Hello, good morning. My wife has a question for Ian. She's not a big sports radio fan, but when I've listened to it on the way to work in the morning, she's heard Ian change his intro. When Ian was on Redacted, an afternoon show that's no longer on the program, on the station, it was, what's up, what's up? And I remember that, Ian. You used to always say, what's up, what's up?
What up, what up? Yeah.
Oh, what up, what up? Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, my bad. She misses that vibe. He doesn't do that in the mornings at all. When she noticed it changed, she was disappointed. Can Ian bring back that old intro for the morning? She's listening, and she'd love to hear. This guy's wife wants you to say, what up, what up?
I will keep that in mind.
Sure. We'll put that in the suggestion box. Thank you very much.
I can't guarantee it's going to make a total comeback.
Maybe.
Yeah, just going with what feels natural. I don't know. The question was just, Robbie's question's a little bit different.
Yeah, he's asking how you're doing.
What am I supposed to respond? How you doing? What up? What up? In the afternoon, it was all like, Ian's here.
Ian's here.
Hey,
and you're like, what up, what up?
And
Robbie is actually nice and asking you how you're doing. Yeah.
So what we're saying is it's my fault. So I think that's what we just uncovered.
No, it's just, natural conversation. So changing it up a little bit, but I will keep that into account. And thank you for the kind words.
I will say that in college, we went through this phase. Who knows why? But because basically there's 2 greetings that you'd get. It would be either what's up or how you doing. So when someone says what's up, say pretty good. And when someone says how you doing, say what's up with you. You know what I'm saying? Flip it around. Terrible story. All right.
Shout out to the Big Ten.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's like that old commercial, the whole "what's up." That happened for a quick second too. That was big for a second.
Yeah, the Bud Light commercials. I'm gonna get to my point here at some point, but this texter says Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Matthew Stafford aren't playmakers. 8/18/26 is the day Rexrode lost all credibility. Send him home for the day and let him sleep it off. Again, I understand that they make plays. Playmaker style, game manager style. That is how I've always looked at it. I mean, if we're gonna use these terms, let's just say he stinks. He's not very good. Okay. Like if you're going to Amy and say, well, he's a game manager now to avoid all confusion, because clearly there is confusion, just say he's not very good, Amy. Sorry. Kick me in the butt. I'm already fucking. Kick my ass right now. Kick it. Just go in there, Borgonzi, and say that, okay? What was I going to rant about? Okay. I got to bring this back up again. Boy, we have very little time. All right, we better play this. Rick Neuheisel yesterday is asked about the stupid idea of let's get rid of preseason polls. Today we have the AP poll, or yesterday we have it coming out. And then Rittenberg, my buddy who I've known forever, is like, well said. I'm starting to get mad at Rittenberg, who also magically couldn't come on the show today. So here's what Rick Neuheisel said.
I guess I'm a fan because it conjures up the conversation, and we can't wait for another season to start. But I think that they impact what the committee does too much. I think the committee reads these teams, reads these rankings, and kind of just gives a pass as to those should be the teams that we're watching, even though they don't have to make any decisions until late October or early November. I just think they show up the same, especially for like a team like Notre Dame, who's going to be basically a double-digit favorite in every game until November. A double-digit favorite. And I just think I think about teams like Missouri, right? Eli Drinkwitz brought this up a year ago when I was talking to him. We get put into a league with all these preseason, hype machines. We don't get that kind of hype. And so that's why this was tied into why he wanted automatic qualifiers rather than hype as to the reason why you get into a college football playoff, right? You're sitting there going, wait a minute, let's just play for it and see who gets to go. And so I kind of agree with him. I think there are teams out there that sometimes get the short end of the stick because they weren't considered amongst the blue bloods at the season's beginning. And look at this year's rankings. Right now, Penn State is still a top 20 team. What did Penn State do last year to be a top 20 team this year?
Hey, Rick, let's go back to last year when Penn State in the preseason was ranked number 2. Man, that really sucks how that really helped them later, right? Oh, no, wait, it didn't, because when the committee ranked teams in November, they didn't give a crap about the preseason polls. I have asked people, there's been commenters on the column I wrote last week, and Rittenberg, he and I have gone, I asked Rick, I ask everybody. Like Brent here on the YouTube chat said they're dumb. That's fine. You can think they're dumb, and that's fine. I don't think they're all that big of a deal, okay? Preseason polls are dumb. Fine. Show me where they do harm. No one can do it. No one can do it. No one can show me and actually demonstrate where the preseason ranking of a team made a difference with the actual rankings that start in November. No one can do it because it doesn't happen. And we're still having this conversation. Enough.
That was I did not expect Neuheisel to go that windy of a road there, but he did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and again, it's like, well, and kind of a separate thing you touched on. So, well, that's why, let's just play for it. Yeah, great. So when you have a Big Ten schedule where you don't have Indiana, Oregon, or Ohio State on your schedule, and somebody else in the league has all three on the schedule, well, just play for it. The standings will tell you. That's all you need to know. When you have leagues this big, that's a terrible idea.
Also, listen, yes, the polls being one thing, the preseason polls, I realized the example I'm about to give, there was a month of football, right around a month of football that had taken place before this. But the preseason polls, factored into this. Do you remember, I don't know, Joe, Vanderbilt taking down Alabama a couple years ago? Well, we had barely played much meaningful football at that point. It was the beginning of October, was it not?
Yeah.
So,
yes. Mid-October, October 10th, or something like that. Yeah.
So, the same people who complain about the preseason polls will look at them, and if Texas takes down Ohio State in week 2 this year, it'd be like, hey, number 1, they took down number 1 Ohio State. It's like, well, that's fun. I like that. And then at the end of the year, as you said, there's actually no evidence. Matter of fact, people have done studies on this. The evidence would suggest that the committee doesn't really pay attention to the preseason polls, right? It just doesn't have much of an impact at the end of the year. So, I think it's people are creating a scenario with the preseason polls and the college football playoff that just doesn't exist. There's no correlation to it.
It's starting to really it's. I love Rittenberg. I've known that guy for 20 years. He's great, but it's dude. He actually responded to that Neuheisel. Well said, Rick. No, it wasn't well said. It makes no sense. No one can demonstrate harm. I still love you, Adam. I'm sorry.
Oh, people keep talking about this, though, because it gets you going. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back into the game manager / playmaker conversation as it relates to Cam Moore that people have very strong opinions on. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
long fuse.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping, outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. We'll have Justin Williams from The Athletic talking some college football coming up a little bit later this hour at 8:30. So looking forward to that. Joe, a lot of thoughts on our game manager versus playmaker discussion as it related to the Blake Bedingfield comments. There are people that think that you're an idiot. There are people that think that I'm an idiot. A lot of people being called idiots on the text line. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm yes, absolutely. I've lost all credibility. Someone brought up my Legarius Sneed. I was like, yeah, I'm just saying, maybe he didn't know who he is. You know?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that
was a good one. But meanwhile, I'm also screaming at people like, I got to quickly before we get back into that. I got people coming at me claiming that the committee gave Oregon credit for what Penn State was ranked. That's not true. The committee chairman will probably say, I'm sure that's been said. Okay. Like, well, they're ranked at the time. They say so many dumb things. I mean, Indiana got credit last year for winning at Penn State because it's a tough place to play, right? That close game and people got all mad, which I get because it's like sometimes you give teams credit, sometimes you don't. But understand, to Brandon on the YouTube chat, to this goofball who's texting me right now, they have, if you listen to the conversation each week, it's like, oh, look at that. Iowa just popped back in the top 25. So now Illinois has another top 25 win. That's how they do it. It is currently ranked. Every week when they do the rankings, when you do the rundown of teams like ranked wins, it is currently ranked. It is not ranked at the time, period. So please, if that was the case, then I'll buy all the preseason poll crap you're talking about. It's not the case. Please don't get that screwed up. So again, if the committee chair at some point, well, they're ranked at the time. Well, it's unfortunate you're that dumb. That like some of the explanations have been just ungodly, as we've talked about, right? And we will talk about again this year. They're terrible explaining things, but the official way that they sort it is absolutely what does the poll say right now? Oh, that team dropped out. That's now one less win that Bama has in the top 25. That's how they do it. That's how they've always done it. Thank you.
Again, the comments from Bedingfield at paulkuharski.com talked about the Titans coaching staff, front office need to forget where Ward was drafted and the expectations that go along with that spot and evaluate him as the player that he is. They have to mold him by highlighting his best plays and not allowing him to be the improviser and playmaker that he thinks he is. That last part of it there, Joe, like I wonder, like, are they going to be able to do that? Because, I mean, we saw it last year. Like he clearly, I mean, first off, the ability to improvise is part of why he went where he went at number one overall. But like the preseason game just showed you, like he sat there and tried to improvise all day long on the intentional grounding penalty and didn't work out so well. I don't know. Like I have concerns / questions that if that's what they want to do and they want to start to coach some of that stuff out of him, is that going to work? Because I think that's like kind of the way he plays football.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I appreciate, again, Bedingfield's great, and I appreciate it's a very interesting topic and thought, be more Purdy than Mahomes. But I still, like, the way I look at it is still just got to be better, man. So, and with any quarterback, I mean, really, if you look at Mahomes, I mean, he still plays in structure a lot too, right? He's still ball out fast a lot too. And a lot of times the offense works for him and it's just, they just go down the field like a surgeon, like a game manager, quarterback as I define it. But then he obviously makes these unbelievable plays, which is what we think of with him. I mean, does Patrick Mahomes like constantly break the pocket and constantly go off schedule? I don't think so.
No.
So it's just a matter of, it's basically what like they've been talking about. They've already been talking about this. They've been talking a lot about it. Daboll and Saleh about basically just taking the easy stuff, taking the quick stuff and picking your spots. when you want to try to, and sometimes it's picking your spots on just trying to, go vertical, or picking your spots. Okay. I can break out here and now try to make something happen. If you're Cam Ward at this point, you have to, and I feel like it seems like it's sinking in some, right? He didn't play well in the preseason game. And then one play was definitely one of those, okay, that's one that you can't let that, you just got to get rid of the ball. But I feel like it seems like on a daily basis, there's more take the quick stuff and understanding that you have to pick your spots. I mean,
yeah, but see, this is one of those instances where I just don't care about practice. Like, it's one thing to do it in a practice. Like, you have to do it in games, because I just think there's a natural temptation in games where, like you said, the clock's sped up, you can get hit. Like, I just think it's a totally different deal than practice.
Yeah.
Because in practice, I think you're right. I think he has. I mean, that's what all basically Saleh was talking about after that blue and white scrimmage last week, was that he was doing that.
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure. Like this next game, you want to see, and you had that first drive, I guess you could say, like that went exactly as it was scripted, as it was planned, but there was just so much running the ball and like the screen, which is a really nice call. But yeah, like you want to see a drive where it is a little bit more, game manager, I guess, but yeah, just more like in structure. And it's just more to me. And this is what the two things that you can talk style, you can talk, hey, you got to learn this lesson, you got to get better, you got to grow. When it comes down to it, processing speed. I mean, someone texted earlier, like the game doesn't seem like it's slowing down for him. And I think I agree with that. Now, if you speed yourself up because you're worried about protection, that's another way the game won't slow down for you, because you're freaked out as soon as the ball gets in your hands on the snap. But processing speed and accuracy, like if those are good, I feel good about Cam Ward. Like Cam, and if he's more of a playmaker, or a game manager, either way, if he's processing fast and the ball's getting where it needs to be, then he's going to be successful. And if those things don't get better, and the processing speed one is hard because it's, again, new system again, and a lot of moving parts. But it's going to become clear this year as the season goes on, right? Like it won't take that long of actual football games to see like where he is on that, and if he's progressed, and where he is on that with the accuracy, and also, okay, 8-yard pass, that doesn't need to be the fastball, stuff like that. But I think even when you make plays like that, sometimes it's because you are sped up in your head, which again is a very different discussion than kind of what Bettingfield is talking about. But I think it's all tied together to a point.
Well, and I also think that it's just like a lot of things in life, there's got to be a balance to it. Like, I don't think you want to overcoach Ward so far the other way, Joe, that he just never tries to extend a play, right? Like, I think that's harmful. Like, I think the best quarterback, Mahomes is a good example. I think Josh Allen's a good example. Like, there are plenty of guys, and I know I'm talking about elite quarterbacks there, but, there are times in a season, times in a game where the play that's called isn't going to work, and you're not going to have the ability to throw it away, and you just got to get out of there and see if you can make something happen. Like, it's a good thing to be able to do that. So I don't want it totally coached out of him, but there's got to be more of a recognition for the moment. I think that's it more than anything. Like, you got to recognize the situation that you're in and what situations call for you trying to extend a play and make something happen down the field. And when it's time to just, live the fight another day and get rid of the ball. I mean, that's a skill at the NFL level that I think is hard to learn, but I think the best quarterbacks kind of know that skill.
Yeah. No, for sure. And the thing is, if the basic stuff of like the play-by-play accuracy, processing, if that doesn't get better, you're going to have way fewer opportunities to even have those decisions too, right? But absolutely, recognition. Like, I almost feel like what you're talking about, absolutely important. But I still look at that as secondary to, like, can you get yourself to a level of performance and mastery of the offense and just delivering the football that, that is at a certain level to then put yourself in more positions of having to make those decisions, you know? And I do agree with Blake that like they've surrounded him pretty well at this point. And if the offensive line is actually going to be, Carmona, that's more of I took the job instead of I'm defaulting to the job, and Latham is actually going to be a dude, well, then maybe we'll have a year here where we can really judge Cam and not worry about the other things and excuses.
I'm just trying to keep track of this progression here with Brady. So, like, it's gone from, terrible commentator. He's one of the best quarterbacks in AFC East history. Now he's a game manager. Like, I just love the track we're on with Brady here. It's going well.
I've said like at least 3 or 4 times, great quarterback, great player. We all agree, great player. Yes, I think he is the ultimate. I think Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, to me, are the ultimate game managers. Like they're not doing anything outside the pocket. Again, this is where we do. Like I hear what you're saying. Like if you have someone in your face and you throw a dart, like is that not making a play? Yes, but I think you can manage a game and still make plays like that. Whereas if you're a playmaker, you're running around and doing stuff. Sorry,
615.
I've lost all credibility.
71025 is our phone number. More coming up next on Cam Ward and the Titans. Robby and Rexrode 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on Norfolk. First pitch at 5:35. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Justin Williams from The Athletic here coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Joe, it's been a while since we've had a topic. Apparently, this passionate and divisive of the game manager / playmaker conversation on the text line. People very passionate about this.
Yeah, Corey Curtis is texting me, and he defines it the way you do. But Josh on the text line, who is a Brady fanatic, says, I normally don't agree with Joe. Wonder why that is, Josh. What's wrong with you? I'll continue with the text.
Caveat.
But he's spot on with Brady and Peyton, and these people are idiots. How do you not see the difference between a game manager and a playmaker? Playmaker is extending the play. Game manager is executing the play how it was designed. That is how I look at it. Thank you, Josh. Other than the fact that you disagree with me a lot, which so normally I mean, I don't know what's wrong with you, dude. But other than that, great text. Yeah, it's like, honestly, like, we need to, like, I mean, we just shouldn't use these terms, I guess.
People have voted for field general for people like Brady and Manning.
Yeah.
Field general.
I mean, I think that term has been used before, but
I think it has.
Yeah, I just, like, these terms are just not going to work for us, right? So, I mean, I guess, again, I like the piece by Bedingfield. I like the conversation. And I see what he's saying. It's just like it's been the same thing Sal's been saying, I think, to a point, right? Which is just like, take the easy stuff, pick your spots. Now, if the interesting thing of the whole thing to me is Bedingfield saying, like, the organization needs to shift its, like, its philosophy, I guess, on him. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. I mean, I just looked at it like, here's this quarterback. Here's our system. He needs to get better, I mean, they're never going to say, don't ever try to make these plays that you make. Those are the best things he did last year, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta see it faster. You gotta hit the strike zone now, over and over again. You gotta move the chains. You gotta stay ahead of the chains. Then you give yourself more opportunities to, as you said, Robbie, he's got to be better at deciphering moments and when is the time to take the 6 yards and when's the time to let it rip. But I don't think game manager and playmaker is going to work for us as terms in a discussion. It just,
not.
Sometimes we just have to agree to disagree and, define things our way. I think, but it does seem like more people define it your way, which is good. It's a good learning moment for me. But I win. But that's just, that's fine. But, like, I'm not going to change. Like, that's how I've used those terms now. I mean, I'm old as hell. So that's how I've used those terms for way longer than you've been alive, So not to tell you, like Brett Favre, maybe you were like pooping in a diaper and I was like, man, Brett Favre, that guy's a playmaker, So, I mean, I just, like, it's style to me. So sure. we can all, we can all still be friends.
Are we, it looks like, Joe, we could see more Will Levis over the next few days. Trubisky being evaluated for a biceps injury, according to Saleh. Saleh did not seem like he was overly concerned about it, but he did refer to himself as always the optimist on those discussions, the eternal optimist. So I think Levis he was 12 of 19 yesterday in practice. If there's a lingering bicep issue for Trubisky, we probably won't see him in the preseason game coming up on Sunday. We could get a whole lot of Levis in this game coming up on Sunday.
We could. Well, maybe the Titans can finally respect Vols fans and give us a whole bunch of Hendon Hooker.
Maybe
what do you think? Let's actually see a comparison of Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. I mean, Will Levis struggled enough in the last game. I'm like, maybe I was right all along. Hendon Hooker is like they're both like UDFA players, but Hendon Hooker better than Will Levis.
Yeah. Running back is kind of a problem right now too. Pollard, Singleton, and Mullings all out yesterday at practice. So Chestnut got a lot of work. Jimmy Wyatt putting this out there on TennesseeTitans.com. Michael Carter was out there. Tajay Spears was out there obviously too. But it would be nice to see Pollard and Singleton work back in there, and then Mullings at some point over the next few days. A little thin at running back at the moment.
Yeah, and that's, again, like, if you want to talk about in terms of a preseason game, I don't really need to see Tony Pollard out there.
No.
I feel like Tajay Spears, he has skeptics, including maybe the number one skeptic in Nashville, you.
Yep.
So not that. I thought that was there was some nice glimpses of him in the last game. So you'd like to see more of that. But yeah, I'd really like to see Singleton get some serious run.
Yep.
It'd be nice to see that. As much as we all respect and love Julius Chestnut, he is the Mason Kinsey of Titans running backs. Because I feel like Singleton has definitely, has popped a few times where you can see this could be a guy.
Let's quickly go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Bill to the program. Bill, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
I sure appreciate it, guys. Scanning my lengthy memory banks here, the real true playmaker I recall is Fran Tarkenton.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimate.
He'd run 50 yards and get 6, or he might throw a touchdown. So
right.
But that was it, man. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
There you go.
Tarkenton.
And Terry Bradshaw was a game manager. He stood in there and he threw it up to Lynn Swan and John Stallworth and handed off to Franco Harris. And he won Super
Very
Bowls.
Disrespectful to Bradshaw and Brady on the program.
Again,
Bradshaw just doesn't like the number 12.
That term is not an insult to me. That's what I'm trying to tell Corey on my personal text. You look at it like it's a qualitative comment. It's not. It is a stylistic comment to me. So no, Terry Bradshaw, you can be an all-time great and be a game manager in my mind. Take it or leave it. Take or leave this brain as it leaks out of my ears.
Justin Williams from the Athletic will be with us coming up next, talking all things college football. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Very happy to bring in our next guest. He is a friend of the show, friend of mine, coworker of mine at The Athletic. Justin Williams does a great job covering college football for The Athletic. Justin, how are you? Are you sensing the season coming? Are you getting excited here?
I wouldn't say, so I'm here in lovely Ohio. It's not fall yet, but it was like a little less gross and sticky this morning than it has been. It's like I can almost smell we're getting to fall, getting to games. It feels like it's going to be here pretty soon. I guess it will be next weekend, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, same thing here. It was like 97 yesterday. I think today we're going to be in the 80s, so it's like
right.
It feels like winter here.
Sweet relief
comparatively. Yeah. So there's a lot to get to with you. As I've said before, I've had you on the show. We have a Slack channel at The Athletic and talk about stuff. And whenever like legal stuff happens, I know that I can count basically on Justin and Ralph Russo. Like they will have the briefs. They will actually know what the heck is going on and what it means. So I will get to that. But I want to ask you about something that for some reason is like really pissing me off, Justin. And I wrote a column about it last week. And like I've known Rittenberg for like 20 plus years. I love the dude, but like I like Rick Newhouse yesterday is talking about preseason polls and like they're damaging, and Rittenberg's like, oh, great, well said. I'm like, but no one can tell me how they've hurt things in this era. I guess I'm begging for you to be on my side on this. What are your thoughts on preseason polls and this idea of getting rid of them?
No, I am totally on your side. I love preseason polls. Why not have them? Why would you, look, life can be difficult enough. Why would you take away something? I feel like that brings us joy. I do understand if you're going to make the argument against them, I guess it would be that idea of like it impacts the way people vote moving forward. And, but to me, then that just means you're a bad voter. Like if you are basing, your week 6 AP poll votes off of how you voted for someone in preseason, then that's unfortunately you're just not doing a very good job there. But yeah, there is no harm in the preseason polls, and I actually think that's what college sports is all about. Like that's part of it. So I am proud to be on your side in this argument.
Thank you, my friend. No, I mean we'd lose our minds if we didn't have them, right? Like if we're sitting here like nope. I mean I guess we could say like, okay, well what what is the Street and Smiths, what's their top? But I mean, yeah, like they're just fun. Yeah, like last year, Penn State and Clemson and this is my example. Like Newheisel's throwing out Penn State, is too high this year. So that could have the idea that could have a negative impact. They're 18th. Why are they 18th? Okay. Well, you may be right. I mean, the preseason polls are often stupid, but last year, Penn State and Clemson were both top 4 teams. Were they anywhere to be found in November? No, of course not, because the committee, in the old days, I mean, yeah, like in the old days when national championships were decided by the polls, and you could argue this team started so far ahead of this team, and so the team that started way behind never was able to jump them. I mean, yeah, when polls decide your championship, then that's a totally different discussion. But as bad as this committee is at explaining itself, the idea that the preseason numbers in front of teams has any influence when they vote at the end of October just blows my mind. But anyway, I need to stop complaining about it. So Justin, to get into the latest on the 5th year seniors coming back, the NCAA did have a win here, but not the ultimate win. There's that's still possibly out there, which of course would just cause all the chaos going back the other way with a bunch of kids who thought they were going to play and now can't. Where are we, and where do you think this is going to end up?
Yeah, so the simplest way is like we're talking about the kids who would have graduated high school in 2022. So this upcoming year would technically be their 5th year. Now, they were not part of that new every college athlete gets 5 years rule, and so that's why you're seeing these lawsuits. And there's been a bunch of like individual state lawsuits at the smaller level, and then there was that big Colorado, which was technically a federal lawsuit, and that is the one that, at least for the time being, has granted all of these 2022 athletes a chance to come back. we're mostly talking about basketball players because of kind of where we're at in the schedule. There are definitely some football players who are now taking advantage and coming back to their teams. We've seen a few examples of that, but it's mostly basketball. And yeah, in Ohio yesterday, that was like the first of the small kind of state cases where there was like 15 athletes and they got the injunction, which meant, hey, you can come back and you can play this season. Yeah, and the Ohio case allowed the transfer. You can get the transfer portal, even though the transfer's not open, and you can go. Well, the NCAA appealed that decision, and now the appeals court has said, oh, hold on a second. We're actually like going to pause things. You actually cannot play. You can't go anywhere. Now, it's basically like they have two coupons. And so the Ohio coupon right now, it's not going to work. However, there's still the Colorado coupon that says, yes, you get a 5th year. Maybe you can't jump in the transfer portal right now, but if you want to go back to the school you're at, or if you were in the transfer portal in April, now you can still go wherever you want. And if all of that sounds really confusing, that's because it is. And that's the problem. I was just talking to an athletic director, a Power 4 athletic director this morning, and they were just talking about what a mess the whole thing was. And I don't even think they had an opinion either way of like, oh, I think they should be allowed to play, or I think they shouldn't. It's just this whole thing has caused a bunch of confusion. And look, I think a lot of people have criticized the NCAA and said they should have grandfathered, the 2022 class into this 5-year rule. Sure, that's probably true. Then you might have gotten some 2021 athletes who filed, lawsuits. So I don't know if there was any point where it would have, you could have totally avoided this. But it's just another example, even if the NCAA has well intentions moving forward with this 5-year rule, the way it's been implemented and kind of the lack of ability to govern anything has just caused a bunch of more lawsuits and a bunch of more confusion. And I think it's something that really, college sports fans are paying attention to, but I think for the most part, they're kind of annoyed by it.
Yeah, like a lot of things. Well, and it does seem to me like maybe they could they have waited to put could they have waited until the fall to I guess pass 5 for 5, which then at that point you have a lot less chance of a lot of people trying to come back. I've seen some people say that, but I'm like, I don't know, was that possible? Did they screw up by just doing it as early as they did?
I guess they could have. I think, on the NCAA side, they felt like they waited, that they waited till whenever, July or whatever, to the next calendar year, the next academic year, to pass, because they thought that would solve that problem. Like, okay, if you played basketball in March and April, that's great, but you're done and you're looking forward to, whatever you're going to do in the next phase of your life. And obviously that didn't work out. I assume even if you would have gotten into like October, you probably would have gotten less, but you probably still would have gotten some of these people who didn't make an NBA roster, didn't want to go, play overseas, trying to lodge these lawsuits. I agree with you. There probably could have done a way that they would have minimized this. I think the NCAA got to the point where they were like, we need to get this instituted, especially for like the incoming classes. And so I think they tried to kind of Goldilocks it and do it as late as they could without totally, backlogging everything. And again, I think they did have good intentions with this. I just think it's one of those cases where we've seen in college sports the last couple of years, if you don't like something, you get a lawyer and you take it to court. And this is just kind of the latest example of that.
Like, I also feel like I'm a little surprised by how many, and you knew, of course, there would be some. I mean, and in particular with basketball, like some of these guys can really make a big difference. I mean, like I respect what Dan Hurley said, but that's Dan Hurley at UConn, right? I mean, like if we're being real, some of these coaches are coaching for their jobs. But I am a little surprised, Justin, by how widespread it has been in terms of teams taking on these guys, just because – one, you are now disrupting things. You are costing someone who thought they had this particular role. You're putting them somewhere else. So you're disrupting that. But you don't know, right? Like you don't know for sure that you're not going to have to then all of a sudden undo it all. And then you have to deal with the aftermath of that in your own program, right? I mean, I guess I'm just a little surprised that as many coaches have embraced this and taken on some of these kids. But I mean, I suppose that's, if you're just talking about, hey, we have a chance to add someone who makes a difference, then a lot of coaches are going to do it. I hate to ask you for a prediction, but like, where do you think this ends? Like, do you think that ultimately the NCAA is going to get what they're looking for here, and this is going to be reversed?
So I really think it comes down to whatever this Colorado court decides, which that's the federal class action one. I think they're kind of waiting to see, because they're appealing there as well. If the appeal, in the Colorado court, and look, the NCAA is going to point to what just happened in Ohio yesterday, and they're going to say, look, this Ohio court, same situation, just on a little bit smaller level. They basically paused this, and we're going through appeals. If the Colorado court says, yeah, you know what, actually that makes sense. Let's pause this too, and actually really dig into this through a trial or whatever it is. Then for the most part, those players are going to lose that year of eligibility. There have been a few of those other, similar to Ohio, smaller cases where a handful of guys would be eligible. If the Colorado court, if the appeal says no, like we're going to keep moving forward with this, then I do think the NCAA, honestly, they have no choice but to be like, all right, we have to, issue another one of those blanket waivers, which they did. This happened a few years ago with the multiple time transfer thing, where one court case said, yeah, these guys can all transfer, and so the NCAA kind of, just to avoid, again, even more mess, says, okay, we'll issue it. So I don't know when exactly we're expected to get, that Colorado appeals decision, whether they say, let's keep moving forward or let's pause things. That to me is going to be the deciding factor. And I think that's kind of what the NCAA is waiting for. And that's why that Ohio ruling yesterday, while it's kind of in this big pot of confusing litigation, it could be really important, because that's what the NCAA is going to be pointing to now, is like, hey, Colorado, you can do the same thing Ohio did. And if they get their way, then I think a lot of players who, look, some of these guys have been practicing, some of these guys have played in preseason, some of these guys are important parts of the team. Like you just said, we could be 3 weeks from now and all of a sudden, oh, no, they're not allowed to play anymore. And, if it's a mess now, it's going to be an even bigger mess then.
Yeah, no doubt. Talking to Justin Williams, Football Writers Association co-beat writer of the year for 2025, by the way. So, Justin, I hate, like, I have you on and we're barely talking football, but I've got to ask you, at this point, Protect College Sports Act, what's your percentage chance that it even gets to the end?
It seems like it might have missed its shot, and there was all that push before the congressional recess. That's another thing. It's whether we're talking court documents, or now I'm having to understand the congressional recess calendar, which is not something that I ever thought I was going to have to look up. It seems like before the recess a couple weeks ago, when the Big Ten and the SEC finally got on board, like that was their chance to try and get something done, because now you're seeing, there's a lot more maybe awareness of it throughout the Senate and even just kind of general population. We've seen some Democratic senators kind of come out and say, like, no, we're actually going to push against this pretty hard. There's been some Republican senators, Tommy Tuberville's kind of been, most notable that have been against it. So while there is bipartisan support, and while that's actually like a huge thing in today's Congress, there's also now like bipartisan support against it, I guess.
Right.
And it just, with, people have talked about the midterms coming up in November as being kind of this deadline. And the closer you get to that, like the less, look, college sports is very important. It's very important to us. I do feel like there's probably some things Congress has to deal with before it gets to that. So while I don't think it's completely dead, and we're probably going to keep hearing that for however many, weeks, months, years now, that like, oh, there's still a chance that something could get done in Congress. It certainly feels less likely now that it's going to happen than it did even 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I think they come back in early September from their recess, and if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen pretty quick. So I think there's going to be another round of news and headlines about it and people pushing for it. But just the people I've talked to, it felt like that their best chance was before the recess a couple weeks ago, and that window's closed.
All right, last thing for you, Justin Williams with The Athletic. Who's the best team in college football this year? Football question.
So I've been leaning Oregon a lot. Like Dante Moore was my pick to win the Heisman, and it kind of feels like that team that has gotten to the precipice but hasn't gotten over the hump. I also just, even though I know it's not the same as like Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, this idea that a fourth different Big Ten team could win in a row, I think is kind of interesting. I like that narrative. I think Dan Lanning's a really good coach. That idea of the quarterback who could have gone and been the second pick in the draft but decides to come back, like to me, that's just a huge thing for them. They obviously have weapons. They have all the resources. They have a really strong defense. I realize they're replacing their coordinators, but I just keep looking as like that team is really loaded from a talent standpoint, and it feels like they've hit enough adversity the past couple of years that maybe they're kind of battle tested and now they can get over that hump. So I'm ready to be wrong, but Oregon has kind of been the team that I've been drifting towards all off season.
I don't hate it at all. With Nike stock plummeting, they might need to win it this year, man. They're going to be losing teams to the MAC next offseason. So
Oregon on the road.
Exactly. Justin Williams with The Athletic has been our guest. Hey, thank you so much, my friend. Always appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, Rexy. Great to talk to you.
All right. Justin Williams from The Athletic. When we come back, we will wrap up the show. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final segment here, Robby Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. You got just arguing with people on two fronts, Ian. Arguing with people on two fronts.
Oh, yeah. It's nonstop today.
I have people coming at me with these, the preseason poll crap. Like, you are so wrong and toast with your stupid argument. Like, just stop it. Okay? Now, the other one, I may be an idiot. I ask you, Ian, am I an idiot with the way that I define game manager and playmaker?
No, I don't think so. I think it makes sense. The game manager, you play within the system, right? That kind of thing. I don't think being a game manager necessarily means you can't make plays. I don't think that's what you're going, right? It's not either you're a playmaker baller or you're just a guy.
Yeah,
there's an in-between. There's an in-between there.
Well, so what you just said is how Robby thinks of it, how Corey does. And I think if I'm judging the reaction today on the text line, I'd say 75% of the reaction has been more like, game manager means you're mid. Playmaker means you're awesome. I've never thought about that way. I think so. You're more on my team.
I think so.
So this program, I got to save this for Robby so you can listen to it in the morning. This program, as an official stance, majority wins. We think of this the way I think of this. That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because there's levels, right, between game manager. We're talking Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson at like the lowest level.
Like that's what Corey. Corey texted that to me. Like Trent Dilfer is who I think of as a game manager. I'm like, he was, but he wasn't very good. Like and obviously he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. See, Cousins to me kind of feels like a game manager.
Cousins is 100% a game manager,
right? And he's accurate, and he knows where to go with the ball, and you can win with guys like that.
Ball's out fast, ball's accurate. He doesn't have a big arm. He is not a good athlete.
I mean, the Ravens won with Dilfer, even though he wasn't very good. Yeah. But the rest of the team around him was awesome. Of course, we know that the run game and the defense. And I think Cam Ward is definitely going to be better than Dilfer. His arm talent is better. And so he can make throws that some game managers can't make.
Yeah, and again,
so that kind of puts him, I'd say, one notch up.
Yeah, like if we're talking, the way I define it, I understand that Cam, he extends play so he can make plays. Any game manager, as people point out, of course, any game manager makes plays, right? It's just I like it's just stylistic to me, and it's just straight up. If you run around like Fran Tarkenton, to the earlier caller, was that Bill? The great call. Correct. Like he would be the top of the list of like playmaker quarterback. He did stuff that absolutely, it was like I said earlier, it's like, do you play grounded up? If you play grounded up a certain amount, then to me, you're the playmaker type of quarterback. If you are almost always in structure, and you need to be in structure because yes, Robbie's right. Tom Brady could have three guys in his face and make an incredible throw. But if you actually got pressure on Brady, like especially up the middle, if you got pressure on like those guys,
they would duck.
They won the game
down automatically. They'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go down, not take the hit, slide, or just get rid of the ball right away and avoid the hit.
Right. Like, Tom Brady has talked about this. Tom Brady, won games of play after play. He's talked about the pre-snap recognition, right? And about how important that is and
knowing where to go with the ball.
So to me, that is the ultimate game management. That's what it is. That's before you even have the ball in your hand, you won. Right? So Manning, Brady, elite at that. I think you can be a game manager and be an elite quarterback. You can be the greatest quarterback, but obviously others disagree, which is why we should just retire the terms, I guess. But officially, this program agrees with me. Thank you, Ian. Someone calling you a yes man. Well, why isn't he a yes man for Robby? Robby could kick both of our butts. So, why would
most likely true?
Yeah. So no. This texter says you would agree with anyone on any topic. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
No, I wouldn't say any topic.
No.
No. I mean, sports is nuanced, So as far as like any topic, sports wise, you could probably make an argument for a few things each way, but and this would be one of them. I'd argue.
Yeah. So moving forward, I think that we should just abandon the terms. So I do thank Blake Bedingfield for like the topic, the conversation. It's good stuff, but I think we need to retire it.
Okay.
We need to come up with new terms.
Not game manager, not playmaker.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll have to workshop. just like our what are you doings and cambivalence
and camdoos.
Camdoos.
That's right.
So we got some workshop. We're good at workshopping nicknames here.
Yeah, we'll have Karski tomorrow. We'll ask him. He's good with words. And that'll do
Ivy
it.
League.
Yeah, that's right. He is an Ivy Leaguer. Just ask him. That'll do it for Robby and Rex. So Jake Lyman, next man up, coming up 102.5 The Game.